anyone here hold down pain? But the answer came back. No one here can heal the wounds of iron. No one here knows blood magic. Go to the next house. There is one in the next house. Väinämöinen went to the second house and asked again. And the answer came back. No one here can heal the wounds of iron. No one here knows blood magic. Go to the next house. There's one in the next house. Väinämöinen went to the third house and asked again. In the third house sat an old man by the hearth. The old man said, I know blood spells, and I know pain magic. Other spells I know, great ones and small ones. How to knit the flesh, how to bless the wound. But there is one charm I have forgotten. I cannot say the birth of iron. I do not know the ways of steel. Without that spell, I cannot heal you. But even as the old man spoke, Väinämöinen himself remembered. He said, I know the birth of iron. I can say the ways of steel. If you can tell me that, said the old man, I can tell you the spell of healing. For to know a thing's birth is to command it. To know how it is made is to master it. And Väinämöinen spoke, and the old man listened. Air was once the first of mothers. Water, oldest of the brothers. Fire, second of the brothers. Iron, youngest of the brothers. When the world was new, Ukko, the old man of the sky, the thunderer, rubbed his two hands together above his left knee, and so were born the 3 Luonatar maidens, 3 mothers of rust-colored iron, 3 mothers of the blue bite metal. They wandered across the sky on the edge of a cloud, their breasts full of milk. Their milk trickled down over the earth below, onto the fens, onto the quiet waters. The first one spilled forth black milk, she the oldest of the maidens. The second spilled forth white milk, she the midmost of the maidens. The third spilled forth red milk, she the youngest of the maidens. It was from the black milk maiden, out of her wrought iron was born. It was from the white milk maiden, out of her bright steel was born. It was from the red milk maiden, out of her pig iron was born. In the swamps and in the marshes, in the fens and in the mountains, iron slept, deeply buried, where the swan hen lays her eggs, where the goose hen builds her nest, under the soft earth and the water, under the roots of 3 birch trees. In the swamps ran blackened waters. On the fen a wolf was running, on the moorland walked the bear. Their claws tore the earth open, and the iron rust rose. Steel seedlings sprouted in the footprints of the bear, in the claw marks of the wolf. Then Smith Ilmarinen was born upon a coal black hill, born upon a charcoal heathland, with his hammer in one hand and his tongs in the other. In the night was born the blacksmith, and the next day built his smithy on a narrow piece of swampland. Now he followed in the footsteps of the wolf, and he walked the path of the bear, saw the iron sprouting upwards, in the bear's footprints, in the claw marks of the wolf. He stirred it up and dug it forth, brought it to his smithy, pushed it down deep into his forge. He blew the bellows once, blew them twice, blew a third time, and iron melted like fat, bubbled like porridge, heaved like slag, stretched like rye dough in the smith's great fire. Iron suffered in the torment of the flames. It begged to be taken out. "If I take you from the fire," said the smith, "how can I know you will not grow to be cruel, strong as you are, sharp as you are? How can I know you will not eat your brother, kill your mother's child? How can I know what is to come? There are things I see that may come to pass, monstrous horrors if I set you free. I see great machines of death, houses and temples of suffering, all iron, all made in the name of iron." And Iron swore a solemn oath, by the forge and by the anvil, by the hammer and the mallets, swore it would cut only wood, carve only stone, would only be a useful tool, never harm, never kill. So now, Ilmarinen takes the iron from the fire, sets it on the anvil, works it soft, hammering out bladed tools, spears and knives and axes. But something is still missing. Iron must be tempered, must be quenched in steel-making waters. Just then, a bee flew up from the ground, a blue wing from the grass, buzzing, gliding around Ilmarinen's smithy, and Ilmarinen speaks to it. "Bee, little man, fly and bring me sweet honey on your wings. Carry golden mead upon your tongue. Gather it from 6 flowers, from 7 grass tops, for my quenching waters, for my iron tempering waters." And the bee flew. But from the eaves of the roof, from under the birch bark, a wasp is listening. It flies too, and gathers the venom of the snake, the black poison of the worm, the secret hatreds of the toad, all the poisons hidden in the dark places of the earth. It returns and mixes them with the quenching water. Death came riding then to the smithy. The devil came creeping to the forge. And Ilmarinen, thinking the wasp is the bee come back, smiles, takes the iron from the fire, plunges it into water brimming with horrors. Then iron went mad, broke its oath, ate its honor like a dog, began to cut, to kill, and the blood began to flow, and the blood of brothers and sisters flowed all over the earth. When Väinämöinen had told the story, the old man growled from his place beside the hearth. "Now I know the birth of iron. Now I know the ways of steel. A curse upon you, iron, and a curse upon you, creature of steel. Is this how you came to be? Once you were not so great. You were neither great nor small when you lay as milk in a maiden's breasts, when you fell as milk upon the fenlands. And you were not so great. You were neither great nor small when you flowed as water in the swamp, when you sank into rusty soil. And you were not so great. You were neither great nor small when the elk and the reindeer ran over your resting place, when the wolf and the bear scratched you up in their tracks. And you were not so great. You were neither great nor small when they dug you from the blackened swamplands and took you to the forge of Ilmarinen. And you were not so great. You were neither great nor small when you boiled like water in the furnace, when you swore your solemn oath by the forge and by the anvil, by the hammer and the mallets, when you swore to do no harm. And now, are you grown so great, so arrogant? A curse upon you, iron. See what you have done. Broken your oath, eaten your honor like a dog, cut and killed, iron and steel, sword and gun. Iron, turn back. We are kin, iron and man. Iron runs in my veins. Iron flows through the body of the earth. Turn back, heal, turn back, for I see the world that is to come, the world cut and bleeding by cruel iron in the hands of crueler men. And the old man sang the iron down. He sang the blood flowing back into the body. He sang it down into the earth. He sang it down into the water. He touched the wound with his hands, with an ointment made of the 1,000-headed yarrow, from honey and oak and 9 kinds of grasses. He bound Väinämöinen's wound with strips of silk. He chanted and prayed over it all day and all night. And finally, the blood stood fast, and at last there was healing. The forging of the Sampo. When the blacksmith Ilmarinen first traveled to Pohjola, the Northland, to the gloomy Arctic Sea, to the man-eating village, the village that drowns heroes, the wind carried him, Ahava the storm wind, gusting over moon and under sun, over the back of the great bear, over the forests and the marshlands. It set him down at the gates of Louhi's farm. No watchdog barked, no bird cried out. Louhi, the mistress of the north, gap-toothed witch of the man-eating village, rose early that morning. She swept out her rooms, swept all the dust out to the farthest field. There, she listened, from 6 sides, from 8 sides. No watchdog barked, no bird cried out. But Louhi heard the step of a man in her farmyard, a footfall in the farmyard dirt. So she stepped forth, adorned and anointed, dressed and bedecked, and hailed Ilmarinen. And who are you, who comes by the wind's road, along the sledway of Ahava, the storm wind, so silently my watchdogs do not bark? Well, never mind. Come inside and eat. And she took Ilmarinen's arm and led him into the house. She seated him at her table, gave him food to eat and drink in plenty. Then she went into the farther room and whispered to her daughter, the maiden of the north. Daughter, put on your best dress. Pinch up those roses in your cheeks. Go to the storeroom and pick out bright brooches for your breast, bright beads to adorn your neck, and come forth like a flower, like a berry, my dear. We have a visitor, and I see that we can gain much by his coming. Then Louhi went back, and she said to Ilmarinen, Now, I see that you have come from the south. Tell me, do you know? Have you heard of that great smith Ilmarinen? We have longed for that man to visit us here in the north. If he came here, I would have work for him. I would wish him to forge for me the Sampo, the magic mill, the source of life. And Ilmarinen answered, Maybe I know him, this Ilmarinen, this smith. For I myself am Ilmarinen. I am that skillful craftsman. Just then, the maiden of the north came tripping in from the farmyard. Her eyes bright, her cheeks blushing, gold on her breast, silver at her neck, flowers in her hair. Louhi turned to Ilmarinen. Oh, great smith Ilmarinen, so it is you. If you can forge for me the Sampo, shape its lid inscribed with life runes, from the tip of a swan's feather, from the milk of a barren cow, from a single grain of barley and a curl of summer lamb's wool. Perhaps you would like this girl for your reward, my lovely daughter to be your wife. Maybe, said Ilmarinen. Maybe I can forge the Sampo, shape its lid inscribed with life runes, from the tip of a swan's feather, from the milk of a barren cow, from a single grain of barley and a curl of summer lamb's wool. Since it was I who forged the arch of the sky, hammered out the heavens when the world was new made. The thought of the Sampo caught the smith, entranced him as much as the bright eyes and blushing cheeks of the maiden. To forge something never before seen or made, the magic mill, the source of life, its bright lid spinning on its post as the sky spins around the axis of the world tree. This would be a true test of his skill. This would be a task worthy of the Sky Forger. Ilmarinen set to work. He searched for a place to build his smithy, a place to plant his bellows. He searched one day, and another day. Then on the third day he came upon a rich rock, a sacred boulder marked with signs. There he stopped, There he built his fire. Ilmarinen gathered his materials: the tip of a swan's feather, the milk of a barren cow, a single grain of barley, and a curl of summer lamb's wool. He pushed them down deep into his forge. The workmen of North Farm tended the fire. 3 summer days long, 3 summer nights long. They pumped the bellows, standing on the rich rock, with pebbles heaped about their heels. Heat rolled from the forge. Smoke rose. Ashes fell. On the first day, Ilmarinen himself bent down and looked into the forge to see what might be coming from the fire, from the flame. A crossbow rose up from the fire, a bow of gold from the flame. "Forge me," said the bow. "Forge me, and I will serve you in death. Every day I'll claim a head, some days even 2. Ilmarinen was not pleased with this. He broke the bow into pieces and threw them back into the fire. He set the workmen back to pumping. Smoke rose. Ashes fell. On the second day, Ilmarinen again bent down and looked into the forge to see what might be coming from the fire, from the flame. A boat rose up from the fire, a copper boat from the flame. "Forge me," said the boat. "Forge me, and I will serve you in war, carry you to battles across the sea." Ilmarinen was not pleased with this. He broke the boat into pieces and threw them back into the fire. He set the workmen back to pumping. Smoke rose. Ashes fell. On the third day, Ilmarinen again bent down and looked into the fire to see what might be coming from the fire, from the flame. A plow rose out of the fire, a silver plow from the flame. "Forge me," said the plow. "Forge me, and I will serve you in conquest. Plow any land you wish, strangers' lands, neighbors' lands, even the sacred meadows and the holy forests." Ilmarinen was not pleased with this. He broke the boat into pieces and threw them back into the fire. Now, he sent the workmen home. He called upon the winds to fan the flames, the storm winds to pump the bellows. The north wind blew, and the south wind howled. The east wind gusted and the west wind roared. One day, and another day, and a third day. Flames flashed through the windows of the smithy. Sparks flew out through the doorway. Gray ashes floated to the sky. Black smoke rose to the clouds. At the end of the third day, Ilmarinen bent down and looked into the forge, saw the Sampo being born, the bright lid growing. Then Smith Ilmarinen began to hammer, began to tap and pound and strike, shaping the Sampo with skill. On one side, a grain mill, on another, a salt mill, on the third, a money mill. Then the new Sampo began to grind, its bright lid spinning on its post as the sky spins upon the axis of the world tree. At twilight it ground a binful to eat, another to sell, a third to store away. Louhi was pleased. She took the Sampo into the rocky hills of Northland, deep inside the Copper Mountain. She locked it behind 9 locks. There, it struck its roots down 9 fathoms. 1 root in Mother Earth, one beneath the sea, the third in the mountains. Then Ilmarinen went to look for the Maiden of the North, found her at the farmhouse with her mother. "Now," he said, "now that the Sampo is finished, and its bright lid inscribed with life runes, will you marry me?" But before Louhi could speak, the maiden herself answered, "But who would make the birds sing in the north this summer and the summer after, if I go to the south with you? If I go, all the birds would leave the forests, leave the mountains, leave the fields of Northland. No, summer is no time for me to leave my home. I have too much work to do. Who would pick the berries in the meadows? Who would sing by the shore of the lake? Who would run through the forests? Who would dance in the glades? No, Ilmarinen, I will not marry you. At least not now. Come and ask another time, Smith. Come when the time is right." "Oh dear," said Louhi. "Poor Ilmarinen. I am so sorry. But what can I do? Young people these days, you can't do anything with them. Now, would you like to go back home, back to your Southland?" And she gave him food and drink, a boat with a copper oar, and a fair wind to blow him home. And Ilmarinen sailed home alone across the gloomy Arctic Sea. And in the wild places of the Northland, the maiden danced in her grove. And in the storeroom at North Farm, Louhi counted up her bins full of flour, salt, and gold. And deep inside the copper mountain, the Sampo's bright lid spun on, and its roots grew down and down and down and down. The end. Thank you. We are Kertoa Kalevala.